Rodgers as our speaker. Mr. Rodgers is a veteran. He is also a writer and filmmaker who moved to Boise about 10 years ago with his wife Betty. He's a veteran of the Vietnam War. He served with the 1st Battalion, 26th Marine Regiment, and survived the siege at Sanh in 1968, one of the most bloody and longest-lasting battles in U.S. history. He wrote and co-produced and co-directed the feature-length documentary film Bravo, Common Men, Uncommon Valor. That's about his company in Vietnam, where he tracked down and talked to several of the survivors that served with him there. I was able to go see that film. I can honestly say I'm glad I went and saw it, but it wasn't a lot of fun. There were descriptions of battle and combat, which many of you have been through also, that were kind of hard to take. But it does, and I would encourage all of you to watch it, although some of you may have some problems with it. But it was very well done, very tastefully done, and something I'm glad I saw. With that, I'd welcome Mr. Rodgers. Thank you for coming, sir.
Thank you, Judge, and I want to thank you for inviting me to speak, and Donna, too, for getting in touch with me and asking me if I would be interested in speaking here. And I want to thank you folks for coming out today to honor these gentlemen for their accomplishments. And congratulations to you guys for sticking with it and graduating from this thing. I joined the Marine Corps in 1966, and in January of 1968, I was part of a 6,000-man American contingent surrounded up in the extreme northwest corner of Vietnam, a place called Sanh. We were surrounded by approximately 40,000 North Vietnamese soldiers for over 70 days. During that time, the only way we could get supplied was by air, and quite often the weather was so poor that didn't happen. So a lot of times we didn't have much to eat, and we didn't have much water, and it was a nasty experience. We were taking sometimes 1,500 rounds of heavy artillery and rockets in there a day, and they dug their trench right around the outside of where we were at, and we could see them, and they were shooting at us, and if we had to go outside the perimeter, it was a hell of a firefight would ensue. During the siege, I was hit in the head with shrapnel. I saw a number of my comrades get killed. When I came home, I discovered the bulk of my fellow citizens had little interest in the sacrifices that Americans were paying there in Vietnam. And I had a lot of rage. I was paranoid. I was combative. I took excessive risks in terms of my behavior. And I was an addict. I was an alcoholic. And what I didn't understand at the time is that I suffered from a condition called post-traumatic stress disorder. Being wounded and seeing your comrades killed in combat, and finding out that your fellow citizens aren't really interested in what you're doing over there tend to be causes for this condition, post-traumatic stress disorder. And the rage and the paranoia and the crazy behavior all were symptoms of that. PTSD is as old as humankind. The Greek poet Homer wrote about it in the Iliad over 2,500 years ago. For us Americans, it's kind of a new thing. We've had a name for it for a while. In the Civil War, we called it soldier's heart. In World War I, we called it shell shock. Now we call it PTSD, but prior to the 1980s, it didn't exist. Being a Marine, you didn't tell anybody you had PTSD. You didn't have that. You manned up and you dealt with it, and so for almost 20 years, I allowed the trauma that I had in Vietnam dictate my behavior. I was drunk, estranged, was looking for the enemy underneath every bush and through every window. Intimacy was a no-no. I saw myself as a pretty rotten person, and I was a failure. In 1984, a woman came into my life who helped me understand that I was really an okay person. Yes, I'd been betrayed, I'd been wounded, I was estranged, I took too many risks, and I'd seen my comrades die, and I'd also misbehaved. But deep down inside, that didn't make me a bad person or a failure. That helper, my wife and partner, Betty, showed me that despite my issues with PTSD and other trauma, I was a person that was worth something. She created a space for me, a safe space that allowed me to come to terms with what had happened and with the person that I had become. And then I could take steps to become more successful in my efforts to be a good citizen in this country and to overcome the barriers that my experience had helped me create for myself. And later on, I was able to get in with the VA and get some help with them, and I've since moved along. You hear a lot of people tell you, when you talk about your memories of the war and how you react to them, they say, you need to get over that. You need to forget it. And you need to put it behind you. But, I'm not interested in putting it behind me. I don't think that's a good thing to do. What I've learned to do is put those memories in the place where they belong in my life. They're part of my life. They're an important part of my life. And I just learned that all these horrible experiences will not define the man that I am or the man that I will become. So not long after meeting my wife, I quit drinking and raising hell and stopped taking excess risk and started moving forward. I went to graduate school, had several successful careers, acquired hobbies, wrote some books, made a film, and I became a creator instead of a destroyer. So you guys that are graduating here today, most likely undergone trauma of a military nature and trauma of a non-military nature. And at least once you've let that trauma define who you are, and it's caused you some problems. But today you're graduating from Veterans Court and you're moving on. And you should be congratulated for showing patience, persistence, humility, and guts in dealing with the obstacles that you have faced. So you're going to be on the road to becoming valuable members of society. You've succeeded with Veterans Court, and one thing about success breeds success. Success leads to success. And not that you're not going to have difficulties and obstacles in front of you, because that's what life's about, overcoming obstacles. You get them every day. Sometimes they're small, sometimes they're large, but you learn how to deal with them. You set goals, and you go after them. And you seek out the folks that you can help, that can help you, families, loved ones. Treasure Valley has 100 organizations that in some form or other are dedicated to helping veterans. I mean, that's amazing to me. And all those assets are there and available for you if you need help. So take advantage of those. We can't do it all alone. Quite often we all need some help, so take advantage of it. And congratulations, and I'd like to give you a hand.